DJI Mini 5 Pro, updates and more. Got that coming up next. Build a Drone Reviewer here. If you like the content of this video or anything on my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. With that, let's begin. The other night I hosted Rotor Talk Live and was joined by Mr. Ron Braun. We spent the better part of the evening discussing all the latest about the DJI Mini 5 Pro, including some of the features, some of our experience with the Mini 5 Pro, accessories, eBay buying strategy, and a whole lot more. So without any further ado, let's roll that clip in its entirety. Now we're going to get into the Mini 5 Pro, and there is absolutely a lot to cover. Ron, why don't you talk to us about what you found out through some emails that we had, email conversations we had going on?
Oh, you mean about concerning the remote ID on the drone?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I made a video with Lou, and I think I saw Lou in here today. Lou lives near me, lives over in Brigantine. He came over one day, and I didn't have my Mini 5 yet, but he had his. He also had an Android phone, which I do not have an Android device of any type. So he brought both over. And first, we tested the Mavic 4 Pro because remember there was a rumor that the Mavic 4 Pro did not broadcast remote ID. Well, we put my Mavic 4 in the air, and sure enough, it was broadcast remote ID. So that was solved. So then we got his Mini 5 Pro out. We put it up, flying the normal battery, and it broadcast remote ID. We could see it on the screen, and even off camera, he let me fly afterwards. And we watched the Mini on that app, drone scanner, fly all over the place. It showed the home point where I was standing. It worked perfectly. But a lot of people, I know, Richard's tested his out, and Gorilla Man, of course, he's in Canada, so that may make a difference. But they're not seen on remote ID with a normal battery. So the test results are kind of vary. I don't know what the variable is, whether it's the country of origin you got it from, whether it's firmware or the controller. We were using, I forget what Lou was using. I think he was using the RC-N2 controller during that testing. So what I'm telling you is there is no definite answer whether your Mini 4 Pro is going to broadcast remote ID with a normal battery.
Okay, that's a good point. And I wanted to show you, and it's for people that have joined late, got this off a seller in China. Okay, it's a Mini 5 Pro battery, the extended version, and I got props. Okay.
Oh, good.
And less than probably about 12 days shipping.
Now, what was the cost of that battery?
The battery was about $159.
That's what most people are reporting, about $150.
Yeah, and I think I paid like $12 for shipping for that.
Okay.
The props were reasonable. For all these, I got 2 packs here, and they were $20 each. So
okay, that's good.
So also, and because I wanted to address and answer a question a lot of people had, Ron, because they said, "Oh, well, we're not able to get accessories." Well, I wanted to show everybody you can get accessories, and it's very easy. It's as easy as getting the drone. And what's interesting is these came from China, and there's no tariff on it at all. Nothing, zero. Okay, so just want to let you guys know about that. The other thing is this, and I mentioned this earlier, but I want to bring it up because this is the Mini 5 Pro segment. Had some people ask questions about doing firmware updates for the Mini 5 Pro and the Mavic 4 Pro. All right. And somebody said, and I hadn't used it for years. So what I finally did was they said, oh, it won't show on DJI Assistant-2 for consumer drones. Okay. First of all, I tell people this, there's a lot of different flavors of DJI Assistant-2, but you have to load DJI Assistant-2 for consumer drones. Okay. That's a must. All right. I had an old version of it. It was outdated. So I completely downloaded a new version. I hooked the Mini 5 Pro up to it. It was crystal clear. It was right there.
Wow.
Had no problems. Okay. So, the big question is, in case, things go south come this, December, and as far as, DJI being banned in the United States, we have the option of being able to go to download these firmware updates through this DJI Assistant-2 for consumer drones. I want to make sure everybody is well aware of that you can do that, okay? Because I don't think they're going to shut that off. They're just going to really shut off future sales, okay, is what they're going to do. They're not going to shut off the ability to do firmware updates. Unless I'm horribly mistaken, I think we'll still be able to do that. I don't think that will be a problem. So, but I wanted to make everybody aware of those two things right there off the bat. I think that's important to know that. All right. Oh, as a side note, I contacted my State Farm agent, sent them all the information. They sent it to underwriting. I'm going to hear back next week because I had a lot of changes on my personal articles policy. But they're going to get back to me next week to let me know for sure. So it's not a flat out no. So that's a good thing. Okay. This next article talks about, and I have to say this, and I'm going to talk about my first flight here in a minute. Now, the DJI Mini 5 Pro's battery is an absolute game changer. Okay. The agony of the low battery warning, a real world revolution. Seeing so many lost opportunities, great footage. DJI now pampering us their latest advantage in the Mini 5 Pro, the 52-minute battery. Okay. More than just flying farther. Okay. These extra minutes, we can not only fly farther, but the hyperlapse addicts among us, we can create wonders. I made a 10-minute to 10-second hyperlapse, and when I finished recording, I still had 30 minutes of power lapse. Okay. The truly interesting thing is how it changes your flying habits. When I fly my other mini drones, I usually use 1 or 2 full batteries per session. The Mini 5 Pro, I used one battery, and that single battery lasted me for at least 3 different flights on 2 separate nights. All right. And the battery is pretty incredible, Ron. And
yeah, I mean, Grown Man's done some testing of the standard battery and the plus battery, and he's been getting about 25 minutes with his normal battery and about 35 with his plus battery. And I don't have the plus battery, but the standard battery, I can confirm I'm probably averaging around the same thing, 25 minutes. So I mean, he was a little disappointed. He was basically saying it's probably not worth getting the plus battery or the standard battery because you're paying all that money for 10 extra minutes.
Well, yeah, and that's possibly true. But what the reason, 2 of the reasons I got this, I went ahead and I got another plus battery instead of a standard battery was 1, I wanted to make sure it was available, and 2, like the article said, he took it out for 3 separate flights on 1 battery, and this will be my 4th battery that I have for the Mini 5 Pro, which is fantastic. Now, I was all ready on Monday. I had shot video. I took my first flight on Sunday, went out there, smooth as silk, no problems, everything okay. Downloaded everything, all right. So I'm putting this together. I'm out on DaVinci Resolve, and I'm looking for my 2 DJI files for the video files, okay. I see, and you know how it'll split it at a certain point in time. It splits those files, okay. I found the second half. The first half, I go to find it, okay. And I show it up off the SD card. It's unreadable. It had a error in it. Okay.
Oh no.
So I got to read. And Valerie goes, "What's that mean?" And I said, "Well, I got to kind of shoot the whole thing over again." So
did you do that thing where you shut the drone off without shutting down the video?
No. Which I kind of thought, and I go, "Oh, okay. I'll just get it off the SD card." Well, like a genius that I am, I said, I already downloaded them. I don't need them on the SD card. So I deleted them off the SD card. So it had some kind of corruption in it. I tried a couple restores out there and repairs, and it didn't work. So I got to redo that. But,
hate that.
All in all, and I wanted to kind of give a first impression before my actual review video. One of the things that really impressed me, Ron, and I know a lot of people I've said a lot of things about this, okay? And the speed in normal mode is incredible. I mean, it just kind of blew me away how fast it was. I mean, really, it was insane how fast it was in normal mode.
Yeah, I haven't got to fly it in kind of a windless environment yet, but I've seen it. It's definitely an upgrade of the Mini 4 Pro as far as handling the wind. I flew today in real heavy wind. I never got 1 wind warning.
Well, glad you brought that up, because during landing, the wind picked up. It was like about 10 miles an hour. It picked up to 15 to 20 to 25 miles an hour during landing. And you saw it doing this
Yeah.
all the way down. And you know what? It still stuck the mat. Okay. I'm like,
Wow.
okay, wow. I mean, I was super, super, super impressed. The other thing that impressed me, without giving away too much, is okay, I did the zoom on the fountain and I looked at the video from that, and the video was sharp and clear and discernible. And it wasn't like the zoom, the previous zooms, okay,
Yeah. Bill,
where
what you're referring to is the mid tele lens,
the
as they
mid tele,
call it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the mid tele, yeah, it was muy bueno. I mean, really, 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 absolutely, positively fantastic on that. Okay. Now, one of the other things was, and I wanted to go ahead and cover this as well too. The Mini 5 Pro dynamic home point now works with the RC2 controller. Okay. Um, and Sean did a video on that, which is the dynamic home point is just something that is absolutely incredible. Now I've seen Ron, I've heard, and I don't know if you've heard from Johnny or anybody else that has it, that some people have said that it works incredibly well. Other people said not so much.
Hmm.
What have you heard?
Yeah, I haven't heard a whole lot. I mean, I've seen videos where people, have seen the work well in the video reviews I've seen, but I don't know anybody personally said they tested that out. Or I'm one of those people. I rarely ever move during shooting. I'll purposely move sometime just to test it, but normally I don't get in a boat or whatever, a train or anything and move around. So
Yeah.
I'm not a good one to really say much on that.
Yeah. Okay. And understanding static versus dynamic home point, and Sean gets into this here, and this is a very good
Well,
article.
before you go on, Billy, we do want to mention that this is a feature that has to be enabled in software. This is dynamic home point is not enabled out of the box.
Yeah.
It has to
Yeah.
be put on in the software.
You need to do that. Now again, this is for using the RC2 controller. If you decide to go ahead and use the RC Pro 2, I imagine it would probably work out of the box, Ron. I don't know.
Well, I think, but it's a setting, and you have to turn it on. I don't think it's on by default.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It definitely was not on by default with the RC2 Pro. You had to go in and enable it.
Okay. So
Because, I mean, if you didn't move at all, it wouldn't make any difference to have it on or off. It still would come back to you, right? So, but
yeah,
I
Sean talked about that.
I had to enable it. It wasn't on by default.
Yeah, Sean talks about how to enable dynamic home point here. So you definitely want to go ahead and read that here. DD fellows, no, I don't think they'll probably do that.
I doubt it.
I think we're probably done. You're probably not going to get.
You're not going to get any more features for the Mini 4 Pro, most likely.
Mini 4 Pro, they may do fix bugs or things, but I don't think you'll get any more features.
I mean, they didn't even add to the Air 3S yet.
Yeah. So, which is really, really interesting here. Really interesting as far as that was concerned. So, now this was a good article. We all know now that it has that LiDAR sensors on it. And this article talked about, it kind of gave some tips and do's and don'ts with the LiDAR sensors, because, one of the things people think when you have LiDAR out there that the drone becomes Superman, is impervious to, things. And so you got to do this. It's like, time out here, coach. Okay. That's not necessarily the case, because one of the things, and it was pointed out in here, and it's a lot of people will just go willy-nilly flying around. One of the other things is probably one of the greatest danger to drones out there are power lines. Okay.
Yes.
And telephone lines, because it
still
cannot.
Thin wires in general, Bill.
Wires in general, exactly, Ron. It can't discern that, okay, because of, for a million reasons out there. Their thickness, the way they sit in the air, a lot of times you don't see them, and then boom, okay.
You'll have to wait for LiDAR 2.0.
Yeah, exactly, okay. But this talks about how LiDAR works, and this is a good article to go ahead and read. LiDAR proactively scans ahead during flight, detecting objects along the flight path, enabling the drone to stop, hover, or reroute automatically. This is especially useful during the automated return to home function, the most advanced implementation I've ever tested on any consumer drone. Okay. Magic, no LiDAR, and yeah. So there's an absolute fantastic piece of technology, and having this advanced functionality on a sub 249 is a genuine game changer. However, they can detect the most feared enemy of all drones. Okay. Yes, I'm talking about wires. There's nearly invisible hazards that lie in wait, especially if you're conducting urban paid flights to showcase a location properly. Unfortunately, based on my tests, as you can see here, no, that it's not the answer. It's a little frustrating to see that even in plain daylight, my drone didn't see even a small warning about the wire. The LiDAR system, impressive as it is, struggled to detect this thin obstacle, a limitation that pilots need to be aware of when operating in environments while power lines or cables may be present. And I got to tell you this, and I got to stop with this. This was real interesting. My manager from work bought a Mini 4K with the express purpose of being able to inspect the roof on his former house that he rents out. Okay. And where his property is, it's in Old Tampa, and it's congested. There are a lot of trees, and guess what? There's a lot of wires up in the air. Okay. And I told him, I said, this is probably, I'm glad you got this drone because it doesn't have some of the advanced features like I was telling him about this, because if you use that, chances are 9 times out of 10 you're going to hit a wire, and your drone's you're gonna have a $300 paperweight that will be sitting on your desk from now through eternity. So I told him, I said, this is good because this forces you to manually fly the drone the whole way. Okay, and this is what I told him. I said, if you're going to do that, he lives in suburbia like me, where there's no, doesn't have to worry about it. But where his house is, his rental house is, there's a lot of wires, there's trees down there, and it's very congested. And I told him, I said, when you do this, you got to fly manually. And I told him what to do. That what you want to do is you want to get up at least 50 feet above the roof of your house, okay? And then you fly over the roof of your house, and then you can descend right when you're over the middle of your roof, all right? Because there's nothing at that point. And then you could go ahead and do your inspection from there. And I said, and then reverse the process. Go up, way up, go out, and then come back and, land on the other side of the street because there's no obstacles there. So yeah, you really kind of need to be paying attention to this, Ron. One of the other things that I wanted to say was I've been getting, and I talked about this earlier, but I wanted to mention it as well again too, getting a lot of questions about the eBay process, the eBay sellers, and all of that. Okay, and these are some things, and I want to repeat them because I think it's pretty important here. Okay, not every seller on eBay from South Korea or Japan is going to be tariff free. Okay, you need to look at each individual. The sellers themselves. Okay, some of them may say, all of our stuff is tariff free, which is fine. Some of them may only have individual items that are tariff free. Okay, and you need to look on each listing out there. All right, that's a disclaimer. All right, you need to be aware of that. The other thing is you need to go out and look at their buyer feedback out on eBay. It is so important. All right. I always recommend you get somebody that's had at least over 100 feedbacks. Okay.
And Bill, what I look for in particular, I look for recent feedbacks on their drones. Like, I don't care if they sold a pair of sneakers last year, it was successful. I look at recent drone sales. I look for comments like didn't pay tariffs or something like that or whatever. So that's what I really zero in on the feedback you're getting.
It's so important to do that. You need to be aware of doing that. Now, also too, you need to see. Sometimes they'll offer that AllState protection plan, which is it's owned by Square Trade, and that's something I would highly recommend that you would take advantage of, because if you want to get that protection, it's there. It's available for you to use. Now, I got it for both the Mini 5 Pro, and I also got it for the Mavic 4 Pro. I think they were like $150 or $200 for like a 2-year plan, which I thought was great. I think that's a great. Yeah,
I think they started at $89, and for the Mini, they started at $89 and went up to maybe like $129, depending if you want a more package. Before we get off the eBay sellers, one thing I think I've noticed, Bill, what's happening is if the seller is charging you shipping, and shipping could be up to $100, you're probably not going to have to pay any tariff and duty. But if you get free shipping, that's when you're probably going to get hit with a tariff or duty.
You're right.
I think the people that charge you shipping, they're paying it for you. But if you get free shipping, then you're paying. But still, like I paid $44 for my my tariff / duty, which is still less than if I had paid like $100 of shipping.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Now, what was real interesting was I ordered the Mini 5 Pro, and then 2 days later, I ordered the Mavic 4 Pro, and they both came at the same time that next Monday morning. Okay, which was pretty incredible. Both FedEx, both from South Korea, and the one thing that I did, the one of them had, I think it was like a $75 shipping charge, and the other one had no shipping, but they included the tariff. The price was just a little bit higher, okay, on the Mavic 4 Pro, but not much, not more than $100 or $200. So it wasn't like some of these places in the United States that are selling them, that are out on eBay, that are at like $900 to $1,000 over what the list price is. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Some people go ahead and they'll go ahead and pay that. So,
Bill, I want to show you something here. I just put it on for the first time yesterday. Of course, if you buy one of these firmware combos, the Mini 5 comes with SD filters in the box. Any of the firmware combos, when you get no matter what controller, you get the filters. And I put a filter in for the first time yesterday, and rather than a magnetic system, they're like an old style Snap-on computer. Filter, like it, and it's kind of fidgety to get on there. You to make sure it was on tight that it wouldn't fall off. But yeah, it's just kind of it's funny how they do all sorts of ND filter kind of systems as far as putting them on, and this one kind of goes back a few years to like an older style of ND filter. So you don't remove anything off the camera. You don't have to take anything off the front of the camera. This just goes right on top. And,
goes right on top.
Yeah. And the other say filter or not, just clear glass kind of stays on. So I don't see too many people talk about discuss this in video, but it was a little bit hard to get on to say the little magnetic ones to snap on, but it wasn't too bad. You can see that kind of like a lot of them. They had that. They had those little. It sticks in those little grooves. Those air grooves to let heat out. They attach that venting system.
Okay. So, did you look at the video from it after you shot it?
Yeah, I did not. I peeked at it, but I didn't look at it on the big screen or anything like that. But they're directly from DJI or whatever. I mean, I'd be shocked if it was any issues with the film. I mean, people get really tied up with ND filters. It's a simple thing. It's just a piece of glass that's darkened or whatever. I mean, anybody can make an ND filter. It's not like it's you got to be a rocket scientist.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I have to say is the prop holder that DJI has.
Yes.
This right here, I found these props come out super easy on the bottom down here. Okay.
They do.
So I'm kind of on the hunt to see if Start RC or that Sunny Life or somebody else will make an aftermarket one. Now on the front. Okay,
yeah, I'm sure they will, Bill. Just give them a little time.
Yeah. Now, see, on the front, I like how this does on the front because it clips into the vents here, okay, yes, which I think is good. And it's real reminiscent of like the Mavic 4 Pro, okay,
right,
the front end, okay. And I think this does a good job. So, yeah, I'm kind of anxious to see about something like that because, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that it's going to be in there and stable. Now,
especially if people don't have the cases. Where you can get those props caught is take them in and out of the cases. That's where they can get caught.
Exactly. Now, I talk about cases, okay? I filmed 3 reviews this weekend. One for the Lycus case, and then I had 2, I don't know if you got, I had 2 Start RC cases sent to me as well. And I filmed the reviews for them. I haven't put them together. I want to get the Start RCs out there because there's supposedly a sale by October 7th. And they sent me an email on that. But one of the things with the Start RC, and I didn't realize that like the first time around. I had to actually reshoot the video. The foam beneath where a lot of the components sit comes up. Okay.
Oh yeah,
on that, and I didn't know that. So I had to redo it because I'm like, the battery compartment's not fitting in there right. And then I realized there's it's below there. So, but yeah, that's about it as far as what we have for drone discussion tonight.
Hey, before you go into Steeler Nation, look at Mike Wright's comment here. He said, I ordered 3 standard Mini 5 batteries from South Korea, agreed to pay a tariff of approximately $20 to $30, but they arrived and was never billed for the tariff. A lot of people report that too, that they were expected to pay a tariff, but they didn't wind up doing it. So, thanks, Mike, for that. And Johnny said, get that Neo for Thunder. And see, Richard agrees with you, Bill. He said I would like a replacement gimbal cover for the Mini 5 Pro. So Richard, he agrees with you, Bill.
Absolutely.
So I just want to play Mike Wright's comment because that is interesting that even he agreed to pay a tariff, he did not. But yeah.
Question of the day. What did you think of DJI Mini 5 Pro updates and more? Let me know in the comments section below. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, it's a great day to fly.